Hey, you guys, I am on day 5 of creating these videos for you. As a homeschool mom of 9, I know what it's like to have kids home from school and kids home during the day and trying to maintain your own life at the same time. And so that is why every day this week I have been here doing videos for you guys on how to create a life that is manageable with kids at home. So all this week I've been sharing videos. There have been 4 up until this point. You can find links to those here, wherever it is that you are watching this, YouTube or Facebook. You will find links to those previous videos. Those are also really good. And what I talked about on day 1 is the stay-at-home schedule. I talked about, and you can get this free, okay? There's going to be links to how you can get this for free, because what I talked about on day 1 is how having a daily schedule, things are never going to go exactly according to plan, but having a daily schedule is going to help things. It creates a foundation for you. It is the best case scenario. It gives you something to shoot for so that the whole day doesn't feel out of control. Because I think what we find is when we have kids around us all the time, there is constant interruptions, there is constant demands, there are things that we have never planned for that happen, and the daily schedule is at least going to provide you a foundation for how the day would go if you could choose. And it's super important to have that. So make sure that you have downloaded our opportunity and what I have here for your daily schedule. You can use mine, or you can insert your own information however you choose. So today we are talking about mornings, and mornings matter. Mornings matter because if you can start the mornings kind of on your own terms, it helps the day as a general on your hugely beneficial. So I'm going to be sharing with you some ideas of and some reasons why mornings matter, and then I'm going to be breaking these down and telling you how you can make your mornings actually be the most effective for you throughout the day. The things you can do in the morning that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck, should we call it. If you can do these things, you're going to have the greatest likelihood of your day going at least somewhat according to the way you would like it to be, and according to somewhat of the schedule, right? Okay, so when you have a morning that starts the way that you would have it start, it allows your day to be more on your own terms. You're having a morning that is more on your own terms, and you're having a day that is more on your own terms. So here's what I find. If you don't start the morning on your own terms, you tend to have a day that is more out of control. You tend to have a day that leaves you feeling like you are holding on to the back of a freight train for dear life. And you are just responding to whatever comes your way. And what happens is when you have a day that pretty much leaves you feeling as though you are responding to everything rather than choosing, is you get to the end of the day and you say, this day went nothing like what I wanted it to, what I thought it should, I got next to nothing done of what I thought I should get done, those kinds of things. And so when you have a morning routine that you work through, it allows you to have a day that is more on your terms. And by the way, I do have a morning routine template that you guys can have access to as well. I will link it with this video. So a morning routine is hugely beneficial. It's kind of a mix. Generally what I say is your morning routine should be a mix of things you want to do mixed with things that are going to benefit you to focus on in the morning, in the very first parts of your day. So it should be kind of a mix of those two things, okay? So the benefit to having mornings start on of your own choosing is that your day starts on your own terms, which means that you're going to feel a sense of control more throughout your day because your morning has been in control. And the next reason why I feel that having a morning routine is beneficial is because it allows you and it gives you a few moments to make a plan for the day, right? here we are, our plan for the day, okay? If you're not taking a few minutes in the morning, it's probably going to be pretty hard for you to come up with this sort of thing, okay? This is going to be something that you should absolutely deal with in the morning. Again, it's creating your roadmap, your game plan for the day. And so when you start your mornings on your terms, rather than waiting for kids to jump on your bed, right, and wake you up in the morning, or for you to hit snooze and hit snooze and hit snooze and then get up way later than you wanted to, for you to actually start your morning at the time that it makes sense for you to have a few moments of peace and quiet to yourself, and then be able to just kind of start your day in a more grounded day. Included in that should be the ability to make a plan, such as we have here in the daily schedule. So I have a daily schedule that you can have access to, which is right here. And then I also have a morning routine template that you can also have access to for free. These are two of the things that are in my Home CEO Life Planner, because that is just a resource for busy women and moms who feel like they never have enough time. But I want to give you these two important resources right out of there for you, okay? So let me talk about now. So I've kind of given you two reasons why I think it's important, a morning routine is important, and that is because you start your day on your own terms and you have a few minutes to make a plan for the day. Both super important things. But now let's talk about some things and some pieces and parts that I think are super important to have as part of your morning routine. And that is to do three things. When you wake up in the morning and you have some time to yourself, right? These are some things that I think should be part of that time to yourself. And that is the opportunity to do three things that are important to you, right? So much of our day is filled, especially if we have kids home from school. So much of our day is spent with doing things that are important and needed for other people. But the morning time, when you wake up before your kids, it's the time for you to choose what you're doing. And when you have this time, you can choose three things that are important to you. And these can be super simple. So let me give you an example of what these are in my morning routine. And when you download my morning routine template, you will see these things, okay? These are super simple things. One of them is I drink a big cup of cold water, right? How much time does that take? How complicated is that, right? It's not. I always do a task that is going to give me a jump start on my day. More times than not, that task is moving laundry from the washer to the dryer. I start the washer the night before so that in the morning I can get up, I can get moving, I can go straight to my laundry room, and I can move the load that is now clean from my washer to my dryer. We have 11 people in my family. Laundry is just part of our daily life. It's part of my daily life. It's part of my kids' daily life. But it's something that gives me a jump start to my day. Every day I'm going to do at least a load or two of laundry. And so I choose as part of my morning routine something that I'm going to have to do that day, a household task that gives me a little jump start. I've gotten it started right away, first thing in the morning, so that it's much easier for me to follow through on that. And that is something that I find so valuable to be part of your morning routine. So I like to drink a big cup of cold water. I like to do something that's going to give me some sort of household task that's going to give me a jump start on my day. And then the third most important thing that I do that's something that is important to me is I like to read a chapter in a book. I love to read. I love to learn. I love to help myself improve on things where I feel like I struggle. And so if I wait and I say, I love reading, but I never have time, I make sure that I have time. That's part of my morning routine. I sit and I read a chapter in my book. Now, I will disclose that I'm usually reading no less than 3 books at one time, but reading is part of my morning routine. Okay, so that is one thing that I find is essential to be part of my morning routine is 3 things that are important to you. And that's an example of the 3 things that are important to me. They're part of my morning routine every single day. Okay, the next thing that I find that's important to understand about a morning routine is that you need to make your plan for the day, right? I'm kind of talking about this right? Your daily schedule. I'm kind of talking about when you sit down and think about what are the most important things that I need to get done today, especially if you have kids at home. You know, when you're being, you know, kind of like a pinball ball bounced around from one thing to the next, right? You're going from one interruption to the next, one catastrophe to the next. It's important to decide on what are the important things to get done every day. So that is part of my morning routine, but also it's important to understand I am a firm believer in the idea that less is more. So I believe that you should be choosing your one most important task to get done every single day. And after you choose that most important task, you should have 3 other optional tasks. So if you finish that one most important task, the one thing where you say, if I get nothing else done, and if you have access to the Home CEO Life Planner, this is what the daily task mapping worksheet will help you do. But if you then have 3 alternate important activities, and then after that you have a pool of optional activities, you are going to get things done in the most important order. And most importantly, if you only get that one most important thing done every single day, it is going to be the difference between you going to bed feeling like a failure because I had a to-do list of 10 things, right? I think that seems to be what we prioritize as a society, right? Having this big, long to-do list. So it's the difference between you going to bed feeling like a failure because you only got one thing done on your 10 list of things, you know, your list of 10 things you wanted to do that day, as opposed to you taking the time as part of your morning routine and planning for less, not more. When you sit down and think about what is the one thing I really want to get done today, if you actually get that one thing done and that's what your focus has been on, you go to bed and you got that one thing done, you're going to be like, man, I crushed my day today. Okay, so I feel that one part of your morning routine should be making a plan for the day and keeping in mind that less is more. Because let's be honest, if you find yourself at home with kids right now and you're used to them being at school, you are not going to get done the things that you are used to getting done. If you have kids home right now and you're not used to that, your time is not your own. And so you need to figure out what is the one thing I can do that is going to be the one thing that is most going to benefit me. And you need to focus on that one thing and getting that one thing done and that one thing only. And then after that point, if you get that one thing done, you have a couple of other options to say, okay, I'm going to move on to these things now. But this kind of planning should absolutely be part of your morning routine. So planning your day should be part of your morning routine. And also, here's tip number 3 when it comes to mornings, is that your actual planning for the day should actually start the night before. I find that I like to kind of come up with the tasks that I want to get done. I like to choose my one most important thing. I like to choose my 3 alternate things the night before. And again, if you have access to the Home CEO Life Planner, if that is something that you have purchased, the daily task mapping worksheet is what is going to walk you through this. But I like to work through that the night before. And then the morning of, as part of my morning routine, I'm just figuring out what I'm going to do when. I already know the substance of my day, but in the morning then I like to break it down and say, okay, when am I going to focus on this one important task? When am I going to possibly focus on these other 3 tasks? But it's important to recognize that part of your morning routine, that in order to have a successful morning routine, it actually starts with you trying to think about it and starting to think about it the night before, okay? So that's another important piece of a morning routine that is successful, all right? And then let me just say this one last important tip, and I've already touched on this, but simple is better. Less is more. As a society, I think we have come to kind of glorify the long to-do list. The more we can get done, the more check boxes we can check off, the more things we can cross off our list, the more important they are. But if we haven't taken the time to actually prioritize them, you might be getting a bunch of busy work things done and not actually the one thing you actually needed to get done in order to make the most progress, make the most difference, or give you the biggest feeling of accomplishment. And so starting simple is always better. And my morning routine template is going to help you. So if you have not, or if you don't already have that, make sure that you download it with the link that I provide here with this video. Okay, so let me really quickly review a morning routine. If you have kids at home, whether by choice or by force, if you've got kids at home, it's important to start your mornings well. And that means that your mornings are going to start on your own terms. When you have a morning routine, they're going to be starting on your own terms, and you're going to have the time and ability to make a plan for the day, which is huge, okay? And then the way you're going to make that happen, or the things that should be part of your morning routine as a mom who is always home with kids, would be choosing just 3 things, having 3 things that are important to you be part of your morning routine. And they can be super simple. It could be getting dressed, could be putting on some makeup. Maybe like me, you'll say, I want to drink a big glass of water to kind of break my, get my day started, give my day a jump start. I want to take care of one simple home making type task. And for me, I enjoy reading. I love reading. So that needs to be part of my morning routine, because if I don't actually schedule that into my day, it will never happen. So that's also part of my day. So choose 3 things that are important to you to actually do and make sure you get done every day. And then make a plan. How do you want your day to go? What appointments do you have? What things do you have that you absolutely have to get done? Plan for your day, but remember, less is more. And then start your planning for the day the night before. Take a look at what you have coming up. Take a look at things that you know you have to get done. For instance, I've got 3 loads of laundry that I know I need to get done, that kind of thing. You want to have an idea of that before you actually go to bed, so that when you wake up and you actually take part of your morning routine, when you actually are working through your morning routine, you already have an idea of the things that should be on your list and your plan for the day, because you've already started to think about these things. So your morning routine actually starts the night before, when you start to kind of think through it. And that gives you a little bit of clarity for the morning time, okay? So a lot of times the evening before, the night before, is kind of more abstract thinking for me, like, okay, this is the kind of broader view of what my day is going to be like tomorrow. And then in the morning, as part of my morning routine, I'm actually zeroing in on what my day is going to be, and I'm putting that in more concrete terms. So that is what you should do in the morning, okay? So the evening is kind of the broader scheme of things, and the morning is kind of more zeroed in. But that plan is a huge piece of your day. And then remember that starting simple is so important, especially if you are finding yourself at home with kids all of a sudden without much warning. Just plan on getting one thing done every day, your one most important task, whatever that might be, and the others are just extra at that point, okay? So these are important things to keep in mind. So if you have kids at home or trying to establish a morning routine, it is so important to remember these things. It is so beneficial to have a morning routine, but a morning routine that is smart is also helpful, okay? So these are the things to keep in mind. Okay, I see that someone asked, what time do you go to bed and what time do you get up? Mine is never fixed and usually late. I need to find inspiration as I have 2 kids. I am so glad you asked this question, and let me tell you why. Because my days are also not the same. Now, my kids are home from activities now, right? Because activities have been canceled. But my bedtime is never the same. It's not a consistent thing from day to day, and that is because my days are not consistent. Sometimes I have kids coming home at 10 p.m. Sometimes I have kids coming home at 11 p.m., depending on if they have worked or if they have activities. And I like to make sure that I have a few minutes to connect with each of my kids when they're home. So here's what I would say. I feel, and what I have found effective as a mom with 9 kids at home all the time, is that my bedtime doesn't need to be as exact as the amount of sleep I need. So the amount of sleep I need dictates what time I go to bed and what time I get up in the morning. So for me, I find 6 hours of sleep a night is kind of my sweet spot. Occasionally, I like to do 7 hours. I tend to do 7 hours on the weekend. And I'm not saying that's ideal for everybody, right? I don't need a ton of sleep, all right? But I don't have, as much as I have tried to have a hard and fast bedtime, for me, it's not the bedtime that dictates it. It's the time that I actually have to get up and what time my kids allow me to go to bed based on what time they get home, right? So my ideal is to shut off things at 10:30. That is my ideal. If I were making my schedule, I would shut things down at 10:30. I would work through my evening routine from 10:30 to 11:30, which I'm not really going to get into here. But I also have an evening routine, just as important as your morning routine. But I have the shut off time at 10:30, evening routine time from 10:30 to 11 o'clock, and then I get my 6 hours of sleep and I'm up at 5. If I were to choose my ideal day, that would be the way that it is. But there are a lot of times that I'm not getting all of my kids home until 10:30. So therefore, I'm visiting with them until 11, 11:15. And so I'm visiting with them and then I'm getting my 6 hours of sleep. So I might not be getting up at 5, right? I might be getting up at 6 or I might be getting up at 6:15. So if you are able to make your schedule, right? If you don't have the older kids variable like I have, or another variable that is more so choosing what time you go to bed, if you are truly the one who's able to decide that, that is the ideal. That is the way that I could do things back 5 years ago when I didn't have kids who were teenagers with jobs and other things that keep them out of the house late at night. But my reality now is that I do have that. So for me, my time to go to bed is kind of variable. It will be anywhere between 11, right? My shutdown time is always 30 minutes prior. I always work through my evening routine, which also is part of my morning routine, right? Like I just talked about. But my bedtime then is variable and is based on when my kids get home. So I always have a 30-minute wind down period for me when I'm doing things to set up my morning for success, right? And I'm kind of winding my day down. So my bedtime isn't so much hard and fast as it is my 6 hours of sleep is the hard and fast part. It's not a bedtime. It's not really a morning wake up time. For me, the hard and fast thing is my 6 hours or sometimes 7 hours if I'm feeling really tired. It's more my sleep, my amount of sleep needed that dictates my schedule. So I see you saying that my kids are 10 and 4. To me, when my kids were at the oldest of 10, I chose. So my suggestion to you would be choose what your bedtime is. Choose what time you want to go to bed based on what time you want to get up in the morning to have that morning routine time. Maybe for you, you would like a morning routine that is 30 minutes. That's my recommendation. That your morning time, your morning routine be able to be at least a half hour. Again, to give you those few minutes to kind of focus on yourself, to focus on setting your day up for success, to focus on getting a jump start, to focus on doing things that you enjoy, like reading a book for me, right? So you want to be able to set your morning up so that you have at least 30 minutes to do that, ideally. And then your bedtime kind of depends on that waking up time. So the waking up time is kind of what you're figuring out first. So hopefully that helps, okay? All right, you guys, a morning routine is so essential. And I've given you some tips to actually make that happen, okay? So there you have it.